Hello. So today's topic I want to talk to you about is your weight, and specifically that your weight doesn't necessarily equate to health. And what I mean by that, as a society, we've kind of become obsessed with weight. It's kind of this concept of kind of what is our ideal body weight, what's our ideal body shape, and that kind of explains why you can go basically into almost any bathroom, you're going to find a scale, and that includes in hotels and things like that. The weight loss industry, they make billions every year from capitalizing on this concept. And your weight is usually the first thing that's checked when you go to your doctor's office. And this concept really stems from the presumption that being overweight is equal to higher risk of chronic diseases. And that can really give us this impression that weight is a measurement of health. And that's not true. There's growing evidence that shows that there's more to our health than our physical appearance or just our simple weight. But unfortunately, this assumption is made by many people that really your weight equates to health. And so that's really the point of today that I want to talk about, that really we shouldn't be focusing on our specific, just our weight. There's a lot of other factors here. And in fact, if you focus specifically on just weight, this is really wrong in kind of assessing your health, but it actually can be dangerous. So the first thing is that your weight doesn't always give an accurate picture of your health. Often we refer to kind of our weight in relationship to health is our BMI or body mass index. And that's really a common way that is used to determine if you're maintaining a healthy weight. So depending on your BMI, you fall into different categories as either underweight, normal weight, overweight, and then obese is the final category. So how the BMI is traditionally, if you think your BMI, that the higher it gets, the more fat you have, and therefore the more unhealthy you are. Well, this isn't necessarily true, because you may actually have a higher amount of muscle, and muscle is actually really good and something you'd strive to increase. But simply standing on a scale won't determine if your weight's based largely on fat or largely on muscle. And this is kind of why the BMI doesn't say that much about your health status, and it can give you a false sense of how healthy you are when actually you might be quite unhealthy. So for example, professional athletes, they tend to have a high BMI because their body is carrying a lot of muscle mass and actually a little fat. And so they're actually healthy individuals, but if you look at just the BMI, they're going to have a relatively high BMI. You can also have a healthy BMI or a BMI that falls into that normal range and have what's called excess visceral fat. And that's going to give you a false picture of your health, meaning that you think you're healthy, when we know that this visceral fat, it really puts you at risk for many diseases. So the first thing to understand is that the BMI is really a screening tool, and beyond BMI is kind of what is the weight composed of. So when you think of BMI in obese people, is there really other factors at play here, such as high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol? There's many overweight people that fall in overweight or obese that are actually in a lot better physical shape than other groups of people that are in lower risk categories, because defined by their normal weight. So there was one study that actually found that about 1/3 of overweight people are metabolically healthy based on their risk factors like blood pressure, blood sugar, and cholesterol. And the study also found that 1/3 of the people with normal BMIs had worse risk factors. So that kind of shows you that focusing on your BMI really is not a good way to do a good health assessment. Now again, it's used as a screening tool, but there's other things to consider. So how does weight contribute to your risk of disease? Well, the challenge here we have is that often we say that people who have a higher weight, there's a higher association of high risk types of disease. However, it's not causational, it's association. And the problem with that is that we don't necessarily know if it's the weight that's causing it, if there are some other factors that we don't know that may be contributing to excess weight and other chronic illnesses and diseases. So, for example, there are studies that show there's association between baldness and high risk of heart disease. But we've learned that being bald does not cause heart disease. Instead, the common denominator there is testosterone levels. And the researchers found that people that have baldness often have high testosterone levels, which also contributes to an elevated risk of heart disease. So two things that are associated with it, but aren't necessarily causational for each one of them. So the important thing to understand is when we're talking about weight, is it just an association to these other illnesses, or is it a causation? And we're learning more and more about this every day. Now, one of the challenges, one of the things we know about weight, though, is something called weight cycling. And we know this is a recipe for bad health or health decline. And what this is that kind of that vicious circle of losing weight and regaining weight. And this is very common among people with large bodies because, you know, they're typically under a lot of social pressures to really go on a weight loss plan. However, as you probably well know, a lot of weight loss plans are based on caloric restriction, and those are going to be really difficult to be sustainable. And so the people may lose a significant amount of weight only to gain that weight back. And so that's what we call weight cycling. And we know that weight cycling has been linked to coronary disease. So there's a higher risk of disease in overweight people. It could be due to this weight cycling, not necessarily the actual obesity itself or being overweight. It's the fluctuations that's often seen in people that struggle with their weight. So we know that these fluctuations, they impair your physical health and your metabolism. And in fact, we also know that it causes mental health issues. And the big thing is these diets, again, are based on restriction, and these can actually cause or help promote the development of eating disorders. So when we're talking about weight, again, it's not just that number on the scale that you need to focus on. It's what are you doing with your weight? What is your weight fluctuation like? Are you one of these people that are having these weight cycles where you'll have significant weight loss followed by regain of that weight? Another thing is weight and the risk of death. We actually call this the obesity paradox. And research has shown that people that are classified as overweight have a lower risk of dying. And a study that examined the correlation between mortality rates and BMI found that overweight people, and that's defined as a BMI between 25 and 30, they actually had the lowest mortality rate. It also found that people with stage 1 obesity, so that's a BMI between 30 and 35, actually had a similar mortality rate to those with a normal BMI. And so, in fact, the risk of death did not really increase until stage 2 of obesity, and that's a BMI greater than 35. And then there's another study that basically reviewed 11,000 people, and it showed basically the same results. So really, despite the available evidence, overweight people are still advised to lose weight, even though weight loss diets can increase your risk of eating disorders and weight cycling. So the important thing is to not focus on weight loss, but to focus on health and wellness. Are we doing things that promote health and wellness? Not trying to starve ourselves or restrict a lot of things in an efforts to decrease our weight. Well, what does weight do to our behavior? Well, the problem is overweight people tend to delay visiting healthcare facilities because, frankly, they don't want to be shamed because of their weight. So they don't seek healthcare as readily as someone that's normal weight. But certain health issues like cancer and autoimmune disease that we know do better if we find them and treat them early on to get the best outcomes. And this is one of the things that as people are overweight, they really just don't want to hear it from their doctor, so they don't seek medical care, or they do not go in for preventative medical care. And so there's often a delay in identifying things that we could have impacted greater if we found them earlier. And part of this really stems from this emphasis on body weight. And so if I'm hounding you all the time, or your doctor's hounding you all the time to lose weight, it's more important to live life in a way that a healthy weight is a byproduct, not focusing on your weight, but actually what am I doing that's going to promote that. So there's a study that showed women, they delayed going in for cancer screening because of their weight, because they feel they're going to be also getting shamed. So another incident where the weight itself may be indirectly contributing to the illness, secondary because of delay in seeking care or identifying it early on. So that may be another factor in how obesity is affecting us in our health and our wellness. And then this is applicable that kind of in all kind of venues of healthcare. So in mental health, people again delay seeking help because they don't want to talk about their weight and they don't want to hear it from their healthcare provider. Another impact is the social impact. So there's a kind of a weight and social health inequality. And, you know, unfortunately, obesity is found more common in lower social economic classes. And being in a lower social class, it's also associated with a higher risk of disease. And that is, again, because of access to healthcare. So there's a higher prevalence of disease seen in overweight people, but this really could be due to also the impact of their social kind of economic class, that it's not their weight, they just are in that class that they aren't seeking kind of preventative health maintenance because they just can't afford it. So the big thing is that your weight does not always equal better health. And I really want to emphasize that because there's such a focus on what do you weigh, not necessarily what are you doing to promote your own health and wellness, but focus on a number on a scale. So, you know, if low weight meant good health, then you should automatically become healthier when you lose some pounds. But this is not necessarily the case. There was a survey that found that even people on diets that lost weight, their blood pressure, their blood sugar, and other health markers were not significantly better when they reevaluated them after 2 years. So our weight is impacting our health, but there's still a lot to learn on how it impacts our health. So more importantly is what are some reliable ways to measure your health status, not just a scale that's giving you a number, because I can tell you right now that starts you down a path of things that actually can promote illness and not wellness. So we got to take an approach that's actually giving us reliable, good information, and that we can then use. And so there's different things we can do other than just focusing entirely on our body weight. You know, so like resting heart rate's important, your blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol levels. There's digestive health and mental health. All these things are important factors in your health and well-being. And it's kind of each one of these are kind of like a piece to a puzzle. And it's important that we apply all of these in doing our assessment on our health. Then again, there's also other factors that we really can't modify, such as, you know, genetics, your ethnicity, family history. But the important thing is that I really tried to emphasize today is if your assessment of your health is simply standing on a scale and getting a number, that can be dangerous, first of all, but it's also not the best way to assess your health. So what can we do to assess our health? Well, first of all, you need to understand that you really can do things to promote your health at any weight. So no matter your body weight, the most important thing is to have a healthy lifestyle. And this can help boost your overall health and reduce your risk to many diseases simply by maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Well, what is a healthy lifestyle? Well, regular health checks is important. So seeing your doctor on a normal, regular kind of maintenance is very important. So you're getting your undergoing your regular medical checkups, kind of on a very rational calendar, if you will. And as we grow older, often we ask that these medical checkups happen more often. And they're going to check your blood pressure. They'll probably, depending on your age, order some blood work to check your cholesterol levels and your blood sugar. If you're a female, pap smears, mammograms. If you're a male, prostate evaluation. And then things like simply just looking at your skin for any red flags for any type of skin cancer, but also there's a lot of illnesses and diseases that manifest themselves through the skin. So that's one thing you can do is regular health checks. Next thing you can do is really a healthy, balanced diet. So no matter what your body size is, you'll have increased your risk of developing many health issues if you don't regularly consume, if you're regularly eating bad foods or unhealthy foods. So therefore, you really need to eat healthy foods and a balanced diet, regardless of your weight. So what should that diet consist of? Well, you want healthy carbohydrates like whole grains. You want healthy proteins, proteins found in beans, fish, meat, and I'm talking about quality products here, not anything processed. Lots of fiber-rich fruits and vegetables. You want things that contain healthy fats like avocado, fatty fish, nuts, and then you really want to avoid sugars as much as possible, specifically processed foods and processed sugars. So that's something you can do at any weight. And if you do these things, your weight's going to be in transition to what would be a healthy weight. So weight will be a byproduct of a healthy lifestyle. Another thing you can do is regular exercise. We know that exercise can really help fight off many chronic diseases. It improves your immune system, improves your mood, sleep quality. We're learning more and more about exercise and the benefits of exercise. So you really should try to get about 150 minutes of moderate exercise every week. Strength training is another excellent form of exercise. This is going to help improve your bone and muscle strength, prevent, decrease your risk of bone fractures as we get older. And strength training also actually can help still improve your heart health and cognitive function. Another healthy lifestyle is basically smoking cessation. Smoking, we know, causes all kinds of damage to your health. And so really smoking is bad, but also being around people that smoke is unhealthy for you. I hear this all the time that especially around children, that I don't smoke around my child, but I am a smoker. And there's lots of evidence to show that you still have chemicals on you that cause a lot of these illnesses, and your children are still exposed to them. So smoking obviously is not good for your health, but secondhand smoke is also not good for your health. Another thing you can do to live a healthy lifestyle is really, avoid excessive alcohol consumption. This can lead to numerous health issues, high blood pressure, heart disease, liver disease, some types of cancers, weakens your immune system. So you can really reduce your risk of illnesses by really drinking in moderation, if you don't drink at all. So watch your alcohol consumption. Another thing you can work on to maintain and improve a healthy lifestyle is to work on your stress levels. If you can do things to reduce your stress, and now we live in a stressful world, you're not going to be able to avoid stress. So it becomes a matter of how do you manage your stress, because there's lots of research that shows that stress really can put your overall health in jeopardy. Prolonged stress increases your risk of chronic diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease. So you really should work on ways to prevent and deal with stress. And so the nice thing is that's actually one of the benefits of exercise, is it helps reduce stress. So when I say exercise, again, I've said this before, what we're talking about is increased activity level. I'm not saying go do 30 minutes on the treadmill. If you hate doing 30 minutes on the treadmill, that's not sustainable. But if you like dancing, then join a dance class and do 30 minutes of dancing, something that really increases your heart rate, but is something you enjoy. Another thing you can work on to promote your own health is proper hydration. You've got to drink enough water, and most people are not drinking enough water. So if you're maximizing your hydration, you're going to have better nutrient absorption. Your organs are going to function better. It actually improves the sleep quality, and can actually improve kind of the cognition and mood of your mind. So hydration is extremely important. Now, remember, when I talk about hydration, I'm talking about water. We don't want a bunch of calories. We don't want a bunch of additives. We don't want refined sugars. So you really should just drink water. Now, it's often recommended 8 glasses of water every day. In my opinion, this is often still on the low end. And one good way to really kind of assess your hydration is the color of your urine. Your urine really should be kind of a light yellow. If it's dark yellow or dark in color, you're really not drinking enough water. So, when we're talking about weight, weight does not give us a good overall picture. That really, our health is complex, and there's many things that affect it, and there's things we need to do to evaluate where we're at. And simply weighing yourself is not the best way. Now, weighing yourself is a good starting point, because typically as we get older, we experience weight change, and that weight change is in kind of the deposit of fat. So typically as we get older, we don't inherently put on more muscle. As we age, we inherently lose muscle and put on more fat. So the presumption is that your scale or your BMI is a good tool to assess your weight and then trend. So if your BMI is changing, it's because your weight is changing, because your fat is changing. So if your BMI is going down, the presumption is that you're losing fat, not muscle, but that still is a presumption. So, you take it with kind of a grain of salt, but it is a good kind of thing you can do to kind of trend and follow over time. Now, another thing is if you unfortunately already have some illnesses, your weight even can become more important to manage. If you have heart disease or kidney disease, you may have actual weight gain because of fluid retention. And that's indicating the heart or kidneys are not working as well. So sometimes your weight gain is not just putting on more fat. So monitoring your weight is important, more than just what are you doing to the fat content of your body, but is there something else going on that you're suddenly now putting on weight because your kidneys are not working well and you're putting on kind of water weight. So treating your weight as something that you can easily adjust is really oversimplifies the real impact of your weight and your health. There's many things that impact your health. Just standing on a scale is not going to tell you. It can, for some, may frustrate you quite a bit, but for others, it may give them a false sense of security about their health because they fall into what they define as a normal BMI. And that really leaves them thinking that all is well and they can just stay this way and they don't need to do anything, these other things that I talked about, because their weight is where it needs to be. So when you're talking about health and wellness, there's more to the scale to do an assessment and then to follow. So I encourage you, if you're on your health and wellness journey, to talk to a clinician on what's the best way to kind of measure these things and then how to follow these things. Because at the end of the day, it can be frustrating for us, but as we gain more knowledge about ourselves, it also empowers us that we can take action that is going to produce the results we want. So the important thing here today is don't just focus on your bathroom scale. Remember that health and wellness is a journey. We're all on it. We're on it in different stages. But at the end of the day, most people want to increase or at least maintain their health and wellness. So don't let that scale intimidate you. Don't let that scale lead you down the wrong path. And just remember, you are responsible for your health and wellness, but there are things out there that are kind of working against you. And so it's important that you find the education and the knowledge to combat those things. And one of the things you can do is reach out to trainers or nutritionists or dietitians or healthcare providers, whatever you think will work for you. And as always, we're here to help you in any way we can. But the big thing to remember is it's your health and wellness. And remember, you've got this. Thanks.